All right, how are you guys doing? How's everybody doing?
Good.
Git homework went okay. How do you guys feel about Git?
Weird.
Is weird? Huh? Huh? Yeah, there's a lot of it feels a little awkward in the beginning. That's true. Okay. You know, you have to like add files to be you have to stage them for commit, then you commit them, and then you modify them, you stage them for commit, and you commit them, and everything like that. So it does feel a little bit extra. All right, hang on, settle down, you guys. Have you guys set up a GitHub account? You guys set up a GitHub account and established a repository? Okay, good. Later on, we're gonna have there's gonna be a project, and the project will be put on GitHub, okay? And so that's kind of like, I'm gonna force you guys to use GitHub a little bit. All right, let me get your attention. Let me have you guys settle down, please. All right. Okay. I'm just so I think I've created a repository for this class on GitHub. Let me see. GitHub under Smiles Chen. That's my repository. Okay. That's my all right, and then let me push these changes. Let me I have to actually, okay, so I need to add git add 131 notes. You know what, let's just add everything. Okay. Okay, git status, everything's ready. All right, let's commit notes and notebook for yes, Wednesday, week 1. All right, and then so let's check the status. Okay, and we'll push everything to GitHub. Git push. Okay, so now everything, your branch is up to date with origin and master. Okay, and then so if I refresh this, okay, everything's on there. Great. Okay, so we're good. All right, have you guys downloaded and installed Anaconda onto your machines? Okay. Have you guys played around with that yet? A little bit? Not really? Okay, but you have it installed? All right, so if you're on a Windows machine, I like using Anaconda Prompt, and if you are on a Mac, just open up Terminal, okay? And then, so I'm gonna just start up the Anaconda Prompt. I mean, you can, there's like is it called Anaconda Launcher or something? Or Navigator? You can use that also. But from the prompt or from the terminal, you should be able to just type in Jupyter Notebook, okay? Jupyter spelled with a Y. Jupyter Notebook. And I hope it runs. Okay, there we go. There we go. And then it opens something up in your web browser, I think. And I'm going to come along here, go to my 131 folder, go to the fall folder, and here we go. All right. And you can I don't know, are you guys following along? Is it working? No? Yes? No? Who's not working? What's going on when you do it?
So I downloaded the Anaconda Navigator.
Yeah.
So how can I open that?
Oh, okay. Don't open, oh, well, from Anaconda Navigator, let me see. I think, let me look up, do I have Anaconda? So I don't really use Anaconda Navigator all that much, but I mean, it works, I think. Oh, okay, I don't know what it's doing. But you should be able to open up Terminal And from terminal on your Mac, you should be able to open up the terminal. You can type in Jupyter Notebook, I think. Right? Is that working on your Mac machines over there? Yeah.
When I installed the Anaconda Navigator, it also installed the Visual Studio Code.
Okay. Yeah, VS Code. Yeah, that's like an IDE. It's kind of like RStudio, and people like using that. I think I'm accustomed to Jupyter, and I'm not saying anything good or bad about. So this is what my Anaconda Navigator looks like. Yeah, and then I've got VS Code. I guess I haven't installed that yet, and it doesn't recognize that I already installed RStudio because I didn't install it through that. But you can launch it through here. There's also Spider, which is another like development interface, kind of like RStudio, except I think Spider lost their funding recently, and so I think the updates are not going to happen for a while. I like Jupyter Notebooks. The reason why I like it is I think it's well suited for data analysis. Okay, it's kind of like creating an R Markdown file where you can mix in like commentary along with code. Okay, and you can also put in graphs and charts and all of that, and it's all in line, and you're kind of creating this document report type notebook. Whereas And I think you can still do this in VS Code and stuff, but in general, those things are generally designed for writing scripts that are pure code. You write up stuff for it to run, and then you run it, okay? Whereas data analysis and data science is a little bit more interactive, right? You have an idea, you test it out, you see and then there's kind of this, you do something, you get something back, and based on what you see, you make your next decision. Versus a coding script where you just give it all of the instructions and then you let it run. Okay, and so Jupyter Notebooks are suited for that. And so from Navigator, you can click. There should be under Jupyter Notebook, there should be a launch button, and you can be able to do that. On your computer, you should be able to. If you're on a Windows machine, one of the programs that gets installed from Anaconda is going to be the Anaconda Prompt, and from there it'll launch this this window, and you can type in Jupyter Notebook, okay? And then when you click Quit, it says you have shut down the thing, and it will exit out of Jupyter Notebook here. One thing here, and then I'll go ahead and I'll quit out of the Anaconda Prompt. On the Windows machine, if I right-click Anaconda Prompt, so under here, if I right-click Anaconda Prompt, I have the option to run as administrator, okay? And then it'll ask me, like, are you sure you want to do this as an administrator? And that also does that. I think on Mac you can do super user do sudo on these things, but generally it's good to every now and then type in conda update -- all, and this will update, because in the rest of the world people are constantly making updates to Python and NumPy and all of these things, and so if you want to update the things, the process is easy. You just type in conda is the system conda update -- all, and it will go through and it will figure out. I don't recommend doing this right now. I mean, you can do it and you'll see, and I would click then type in no that you don't want to do it right now. Okay, so it's solving the environment, and it's just basically checking the latest versions of the software online versus what you have on your machine, and it will say these are the things that we're going to update when you do when you run conda update. But It's taking its time. Okay, so it says all requested packages already installed, because I did this earlier today, but I don't know. For the Mac users, does that work when you type in conda update all in terminal?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, great. And then again, I'll just launch Jupyter Notebook, and this will launch Jupyter, okay? All right, is this okay? And so, you know, within Jupyter, you know, once you're in the directory that you want, you can click New Notebook, and you can create a Python notebook. You can even create an R notebook. Actually, Jupyter, Jupyter, it's kind of a mix of Julia, which is another programming language that I know zero about, okay? Python and R, okay? And so Jupyter is Julia, Python, and R, and that's what it is. And so you can create notebooks in Python, notebooks in R, and the notebooks in R are kind of like, they're similar to R Markdown, but they're Jupyter notebooks, okay? So anyway, you can create a new Python notebook, and it will look like this, okay? And you can rename it up here, and I'm going to call this 0102 for week 1, the second session in the week, right? And then this will just be kind of like in-class demo. Okay, so this is what we have, and here you are. Here's your notebook, okay? Your empty notebook. And with the Jupyter notebook, you can mix code, okay? So right here, I've got in blank, and then there's a spot for me to type code, yeah? So you can mix code in, so I can do some code. I can do like, you know, what is 3 times 5, okay? And then to run it, I can hit this button here, run this cell. I can hit this button up here that says run, or I can hit Control Enter on the keyboard, or Shift Enter, all of these things, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just click the button here for run the cell. I click that, and it says in, and it gives it a number 1, 3 times 5, and out 15. That's exactly what I expected. Okay, so great, all right. And then if you want to add another cell, you can click this plus button, and it will put in another cell, and you can do another calculation, right? Like, what is log of 10, yeah? And then you click run. Oops. Oh, yeah. I forgot. We don't have, log has not been installed, is not defined, right? So this is not, you have to import the math package, right? So I have to say import math and math.log. Okay, and now it runs. Okay. Of course. Okay, and then so the when I ran it the first time, it gave me an error, and that was my in2. And then now, because this is the third thing I've run, it says in3 and out3 here. Okay. And then and over here, so you can also convert a cell from code to Markdown. Okay. There's like 3 types of cells: code, Markdown, and raw. Heading is just Markdown. Okay. And we don't really, I don't really use raw. So I would just say code and Markdown. And Markdown, this is where you write your like text and stuff. And so you can use your Markdown, and you can say like, this is a heading, and I'm going to make a bulleted list. -1, item 1. Whoops. Got to do it like this. Item 1, item 2, item 3. Okay. And then it feels funny, but then you click run, and it renders. it renders your Markdown code. Okay. I've prepared a notebook already. Okay, so this is just kind of like something you can create, and we have a mix of code and Markdown, and then you can add more code. Okay. One thing you'll notice, all right. Let me go ahead and open up the Markdown that I've created for this Jupyter and IPython Basics. Okay, is that Jupyter, we have two modes, okay? And you'll notice right here, all of these things that we've done, these are known as cells, okay? And I can move from one cell to another by kind of clicking them, right? Even the Markdown stuff, that's also a cell. This cell that I haven't done anything, these are all cells. And then, and you know which cell you're highlighted because there will be, it'll be selected and there's kind of a blue bar next to it, okay? But the cells can have two colors. I mean, there's two modes, right? There's command mode and edit mode, okay? So when you're, you can go up and down using your up and down arrow keys to kind of navigate through the cells, okay? If you don't want to move your hands from the keyboard, you can use the letters J and K, right? So you can keep your hands on the home row instead of like losing 0.3 of a second by moving your hand down to the arrow keys. So you can kind of flip through and just hit J and K. Same thing in Gmail, right? If you turn on keyboard shortcuts, I don't know if you guys use J and K to get through your emails in Gmail. It's great, okay? And anyway, when the line is blue, that's in command mode, and then if you hit enter, you enter edit mode, okay? And so now I can edit the contents of my cell, okay? And then you hit escape to go back to command mode, right? So enter to edit, and it turns green. Now I'm in edit mode, and if I just hit escape, it goes back to command mode, right? And so it changes to blue. But it didn't render the Markdown I have written. So if I want to render it, I have to click run, okay? And then it renders, right? So here this is just Jupyter with a heading. I have to actually click run to render that, okay? So some of the commands I'm going to show you here are for command mode, and they're not going to work in edit mode, okay? So for example, you can add cells, okay? Using A or B, okay? B will put a cell below, A will put a cell above. So if I'm over here, if I'm in command mode, I can hit B and it puts a cell below it. If I go up and I hit A, it puts a cell above it, okay? But if I'm in edit mode and I type B or A, it just puts it puts the letters A and B in the cell, okay? So you have to be in command mode, and you can just keep typing B, and it's going to keep adding all these cells. You can hit A, and it's going to add cells above it, and things like that, okay? All right, so I got a little too excited about adding cells, and so if you want to delete a cell, again, while you're in command mode, so it has to be blue, you hit D twice, double D, okay? You can't just hit D once. You have to hit D twice in a row, okay? You hit DD, and it deletes a cell, okay? So you can try that out. DD will delete a cell. All right, is that working for you guys? Okay, so adding a cell is B or A, below and above. That's simple, and then delete D, and then just to kind of, so it doesn't break on you with an accidental keystroke, you hit it twice, okay? We also have cut, copy, and paste. And to cut, while you have a cell selected, you hit X. There's no need to hit Control X or Command X. Just X, that cuts a cell, and then V will paste it, okay? If you want to copy it, you just hit C, and then V will paste it, all right? And then you double D to delete, okay? So X, C, and V, I think those you're accustomed to already, right? Control, you just don't use Control. You just you just, while you're in command mode, cut, copy, and paste. Okay? And that's how you'll do it. We talked about navigating using J and K or up and down arrows. Okay. And then, and again, we also have two types of cells. We've got markdown cells and code cells, well, and raw cells, okay? And so, you know, let's say I create a new cell, I type B, okay? By default, it's gonna be a code cell, okay? If you wanna change it to a markdown cell, you hit M, and it changes the mode to markdown, okay? And then now I can type in, you know, markdown stuff. And then, you know, here, you know, if you want to convert the cell back into a code cell, while you're in command mode, hit Y, and it will turn it back into a code cell. And, you know, now it gives me an error when I try to run it. Okay. And again, you have to be in command mode, because if you're in edit mode and you type in M for markdown or Y for code, it just inserts those letters. So in command mode, while it's blue, M will change it to markdown, Y will change it to code. M, okay, M and Y. So far so good. Okay. All right. And then I think you guys know your Markdown basics, right? From R Markdown, like how to make headings using the hash sign, bulleted lists with hyphens. You have math using single and double dollar signs, okay? Dollar signs will render things as math. And then, and if you want code, so for example, so this is Markdown, and then, you know, you can do like, I don't know, f of x is equal to lambda e to the negative lambda x or something. Okay, and then you get pretty math looking stuff. Right? Maybe like the exponential distribution, I don't know. Something like that, right? And then if you wanted to type in code, you can use the single hyphen or single back accent character, right? And then so you can say, I don't know, print hello world or something, right? Code for a basic command. All right, and then you render that. Okay, so to basically run or render your cells, you can hit Control or Command Enter on your keyboard. That's gonna so if you hit Escape, you'll escape edit mode, but you won't have run or rendered this stuff. If you want to actually run or render it, you hit Control Enter, and it will run whatever code that you've written in there. Okay. If you know, if you're kind of in the flow and you want to, and you know, immediately after you render something, okay, and you want to do something, add a cell, instead of having to render it and then hit B to add a cell below, you can just hit Shift Enter, and it will run it and then move on to the next cell. Okay, and if there's no next cell, it will just add a cell. Okay, so a lot of times I'll start at the beginning, I'll hit Shift Enter, it moves on to the next one, Shift Enter, and you can just kind of run through a notebook that way. There's also a few features, like if you've got a bunch of things, you can just go to the kernel and you can just click Restart and run everything, okay? Or Restart and clear output. All right, so if I do this, we have the inputs, but it doesn't have any of the outputs, right? So then if I want to run this, I can hit Shift Enter, and it moves along. Okay, so Control Enter will run your current cell, and if you want to run it and then move on, Shift Enter. So Control Enter and Shift Enter. Those are probably the most common things that we'll use. And then there's like other shortcuts. I think you can just hit H while you're in command mode, and it will list off all of kind of the keyboard shortcuts that you can use. All right. But I think I've covered most of the basic ones here. Maybe I'll insert a cell here, switch to Markdown, and just say list of keyboard shortcuts. Okay, you can get a list of shortcuts while in command mode by typing H. Okay, and that should pull up your list of things. Okay, and then of course, in the beginning, while you're not quite used to the keyboard shortcuts, you can do everything using the buttons up here. Okay, and then this thing will like move the cells up and down, which there's not a. I don't think there's a button to do that. You would have to cut, scroll up, and then paste. Okay, it's not that hard, but you can do that. All right, is that good? Anything? Okay. When we do work in Python, or at least for from the data science-y stuff, I think Jupyter is a great system because it allows you to kind of mix the code along with your text commentary and math equations and all of that stuff. Okay, and throw in charts and pictures, all of that. Okay, and then and so Jupyter runs on IPython. Okay, so if you didn't install Anaconda and you installed Python by itself, the Python interpreter normally shows you like, I don't know, three what is that, greater than signs in a row, and that's kind of like where you type your stuff. The IPython is kind of like another thing, and it uses in and outs. Okay, and so anyway, here I just said you could do basic operations, and here's our input, and then and here if you have multiple operations in a cell, only the last operation is going to be kind of printed into the output. Okay, because it runs all of the stuff. But basically, what gets output to the screen will be this, okay? Here, so yeah, the IPython is kind of set up for like one input and one output, okay? And in the cells, you can write like multiple lines and stuff. But generally, yeah, it's set up for kind of like, one in, one out, all right? And if you want like multiple stuff to appear, you can use a print, okay? But one thing about Python is that the print, it's a function, and functions, they take inputs and they return outputs. The print doesn't return an output, okay? It prints something to the screen or onto your display. But unlike R, you can't like store the output of a print. Okay, so if I the print function doesn't return a value. So for example, if I say x is equal to print 5 times 6, okay, and if I ask, whoops, print x, all right, it tells me that there's nothing, okay? All right, so this is basically like the null object. It's a none in Python. X has a none value, Okay. And you know, even within Python, you can ask about print. All right, and it will pull up help. Okay, so values prints the value to string or system standard out. Okay, there it goes. But yeah, print. You can't. In R, you could do like x equals print 5 times 6, and this value 30 gets stored into x. It's not the case here. Okay. Okay. There's no none doesn't have an output. Okay. So none is like the null object, and there's no output associated with a none. Okay. So here you'll notice my input 3 is this, but there's no out. Okay, and there's no out here. Okay. Okay, and so you know all of this stuff about the ins and the outs. It's actually a useful thing because in IPython there are these lists. Well, there's the list in, okay, and if I ask for, you know, what is the list in, it pulls back all of the commands that went into it, okay, and so I can refer. In this case, I can go back and I can say, what was input 1? Okay, I can say input 1, and it will say, this is the thing that you typed in. Okay, and so you can pull back, you know, stuff that you were doing before. Okay, similarly, with outputs, you can, there's the out. Out is a dictionary, all right? Showing, you know, the relation between each input. So 1 is 15, 2 was this, and there's no output for 3 because there's nothing there, right? So in 3 produced this, so there's no output 3 or output 4, okay? Output 7 is a 4, which shows up here, okay? And then output 9 was this list itself, so output 9 is this long thing. And then the last thing we had, output 10, was the was whatever this was. Okay, so you can reference the inputs and the outputs in IPython. So I can ask, you know, what was output 1, and it will say that was 15. I could ask what was output 3, and it will say that doesn't exist. Okay, it gives you an error. Okay, because this is a dictionary, we haven't really talked about these things, but we have that there. Okay. You can also, so here today I'm just kind of talking about features of Jupyter and IPython without really getting into Python programming stuff yet. Okay, we'll start doing that, and this week your homework is kind of the intro to Python data camp thing. Okay. You can also write scripts, okay, and in like a separate document, and you can call and run those scripts within IPython as well. Okay, so you know we're accustomed to kind of writing all of our code in one notebook or something, but if you want to have a separate document, a separate script, you can have that and you can run it inside IPython using they're called like magic commands when you have a percent thing here. Okay, so you can do %run and then you name the script. Okay, and the script has to be kind of in the same folder. So here, I mean, the script is just print hello world. Okay, so it's nothing impressive there. Okay, and then so you know when I run the script, it runs and it prints out hello world to the screen. Okay. Is that okay? Here I've written another script over here. Okay, and this other script calls for a variable name. Okay, and so what it's going to do is it's going to print hello space, and it's going to add the name to it, okay? And in Python, the plus is for string objects. When you do a plus, kind of pastes them together, okay? You don't need to use like a paste function. You just, plus will like paste strings together. So here, you know, whatever the name is, it's going to run that, okay? Now, so here I'm going to define name as Miles, and here, let me, if I try to do print run script o2.py, and if I try to run that, it kicks back an error and it says name is not defined, okay? I can run this, and I run this, and it says name is not defined, okay? Well, the variable name is defined, but it's defined inside the notebook. And so to give this Python script access to what's in the notebook, you use this option -i, and then the script will run, okay? Because here I have the variable name defined, and so now when I run this script, it's going to say, oh, the name is Miles, and I can run it that way. Okay, and so these are nice features of Jupyter and IPython that allows us to, I don't know, efficiently do things within the interface. Okay. So yeah, in order to get it to run, you got to kind of write your own little Python scripts here. Let me just go ahead and restart and run everything. Okay, and then also you can also run bash programs, okay? Or so within the terminal, there's programs like ls, which will list off the contents of your directory, and I don't know what else you have. Like cat will just print out the contents of a file. It will just cat the contents of a file onto the screen, right? So if you're on a Mac, you can do !cat script02.py, and it will print out the contents of the script onto the screen. Okay, but on a Windows machine, cat doesn't is not a thing, and so Windows users have to use type. Okay, and so if you tried to do this on the Mac, this would throw an error. So you can do !type, and it will run it, and it will say, oh, this is what exists inside script02 py Python. Okay, so this is exactly the contents of the file. That was script 1, and you can run it there. Okay, do we have any questions on any of this stuff? Let me see if I've got anything else that I want to say about IPython. So here I've got 3 times 7, and then I think you can also get the last value using the underscore character. So here, let me also throw that in there. Okay. We'll switch to Markdown, and I'll say you can. Let me see. Python underscore last value. For storing the value of the last thing, Okay, so there's all sorts of uses for underscore, but yeah, just a quick thing to kind of get the last value that was produced is you can just use the single underscore, right? You can access the last value produced output using a single underscore character. So 3 times 9 is this, and then you can do like underscore minus 2, okay, and that will give you access to kind of the last value there. Just trying to think what else we can do in the IPython interpreter. Okay, I think this is what I have. Let me save this. I'm going to push. Let's check what we have. Okay, so we'll go ahead and add these changes, and then I'm going to go ahead and commit them. Updated notebooks for week 1 Wednesday lecture. And then I'll go ahead and push this. Okay, and then so, oops, let me go to GitHub. Okay, one nice thing about GitHub is that when you create a notebook in Jupyter, GitHub has a way to render the notebooks, okay? And so this will show basically all the stuff that we did, okay? And it will, so it renders it onto, into something readable, right? So if you create a report or something, it can do this. Whereas, I don't know if you've ever tried uploading an R Markdown file to GitHub. If you upload an R Markdown file, it just looks like the raw R Markdown text, okay? You know, whereas the script files will print out like this, okay? And so all of this is available, but it's nice. The IPython, I'm sorry, the Jupyter notebooks get rendered as they kind of appear on your screen. And so, you know, when you publish things, I would say I recommend using Jupyter on GitHub, okay? And so even if you want to do something in R and you don't want to do a project in R, if you're going to publish it to GitHub and you want to show somebody, I would say use use Jupyter with R, okay? And in order to do that, you might have to install the R kernel in Jupyter. But under here, when you click New, if your options for Notebook is only Python 3 and you don't have an option for R, you can look up about installing. Just go online and look up install Jupyter R kernel. Okay, and this will talk about basically the you know, how to install the kernel into R for R in Jupyter. Okay, and you can do that, and then when you publish something onto GitHub, it will render. Okay, so I know that I'm not assigning like these kind of homework assignments where you do these things, but I strongly encourage you to just kind of try out some of these things yourself on your own computer. Like make a notebook, see if you can publish it to GitHub, and just kind of play around with it that way, and you'll get better, right? Okay, we'll end here for today, and then on Friday we'll pick up and start talking about actual Python stuff.